Mike, if you're ready to go, we can, I think it's at 7? Yep,
7 o'clock.
Whenever you guys are ready.
let's do it. Okay, Tamer.
All right.
All right, everybody's good to go?
Yes.
All right, meeting's called to order. Public portion of the meeting begins. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the business administrator, board secretary, has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated to the Herald News, the Record, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Here.
Ms. Goff?
Here.
Mr. Palouse?
Here.
Mr. Reister?
Here.
Ms. Sanford?
Here.
Mr. Totaro?
Here.
Mr. Turco?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here. If everyone would please rise and join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To
to
the
the
flag
flag
United
of the United States
of
of
the
America,
United States of
the
America,
republic
and to the
which
republic
stands
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
All right, meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and/or directly related to the operation of the school district. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question during the public portion of this meeting, you may submit the question by accessing the Q&A feature on the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you may submit a question via our Board of Education email address at Hawthorne, BOE, at hawthorne.k12.nj.us, which is available on our district website. When submitting questions via Zoom or email, please be sure to include your first and last name, address, and email address followed by your question. We will do our best to answer all questions in the order in which they are received. If for some reason we are unable to answer your question, someone from the district will respond using the email address you provided. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. All right, that being said, public be heard on agenda items only. And I do not see any questions in our little Q&A box. So, Mr. Superintendent, we have any emails?
Well, sir, we do not have any questions in our email account at this time.
All right. All right, moving on for the approval of minutes. March 3rd, 2020 work session, special meeting, and the March 10th, 2020 regular meeting, public and private. With a motion to approve the meetings.
Motion.
second.
Trudy, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, roll call. I'm sorry, we have any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Taro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to correspondence and our student council representative, Ms. Ava Tower, for your report, please.
Good evening. With the current circumstances, Hawthorne High School has transitioned to digital life. With the help of our amazing staff, students have been able to continue working hard out of the classroom. Our student council hosted a virtual spirit week on our Instagram page. From pajama day to crazy sock day, posts shared from students and staff help to keep us connected and motivated. Follow us at HHS Bears on Instagram. Our dedicated students have adapted to an online schedule using applications such as Google Classroom and Zoom. The high school announcements are still available daily on YouTube, courtesy of the broadcasting students led by Mr. Small. Also, our YouTube channel has the full Mr. Hawthorne 2020 show now available. Check out Bears Broadcasting for more HHS videos on YouTube. That's all for this month's report. Remember to stay safe and go Bears.
Nice job, baby.
Thank you.
I will move on to my report. I'm actually going to allow Dr. Trebona, excuse me, to share our science testing report scores. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Dr. Trebona. I practiced that to get used to that.
Thank you, Mr. Spirito. Good evening, everybody.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen now. So please, once I share it, just let me know that everybody can see where we are. Give me 1 second. Are we good to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So basically, as you know, in October is normally when I do my testing report. This year, there was a delay in the release of the NJSLA science results, as this was the first year that the test was administered with the new standards, as well as the scores were given out and sent back to us. So we received those scores. Give me 1 second. We received those scores and we were able to tally up. Let me see. Okay, we're good. A little bit about the science test. If you remember, previously we had a 4th grade, 8th grade, and an 11th grade science assessment. It was either the NJ Ask or what they called the end of year assessment, EOC, or NJ BCAT for the biology exam. It was only focused on one content area. When they switched to looking at the next generation science standards, they also shifted the assessment, which took a little bit later to come into play. So it's the federally required state assessment that's administered in now 5th grade to align with our NJSLS standards, 8th grade and 11th grade. It's directly aligned to the new standards, and it was developed in collaboration with educators, the Department of Ed, and our contracted vendors, which we had used in the past, which is Measurement Inc. What we need to understand that it is totally different from the NJ Ask or the previous assessment that was given. The new assessment is much more rigorous, as it's aligned to more rigorous standards that are not on your rote memorization of science fact, but rather the application of science in different areas of both the content, the process, and the skills. So what we're going to see right now is our baseline data for this. All we have comparison to right now is the state. And we have a comparison to where we are within the state. So if we start The way I set it up was I looked at 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade. The state is in the second column. We have a 4-level scale, unlike the park, which is a 5-level scale. When we compare to the state, anything that's in red, we were slightly below the state. Anything that's in green, our students scored above the state average. We are teetering in between about a 50-50 split on grade level and performance level. Obviously, proficiency is measured at whether or not we gain in this area of a 3 or a 4, which is meeting the standard or exceeding the standard. Our 5th, 8th, and 11th graders, our 11th graders actually had done the best on this exam, exceeding the state average, or meeting the state and exceeding the state on levels 3 and 4. We do have some work to do with our 5th and 8th graders. But what you have to realize is that the 5th graders only had the implementation of these standards starting back 2 to 3 years ago. So there was a shift in the instruction as well as the 8th graders. When we go further, as there's not that much data to go into, we needed to break it down in looking at our subgroups like I normally do with our data. And as always, I kept Hawthorne in blue. That's our total population of the students that took it in 5th, 8th, and 11th grade. And I compared it in pink to our students that have scored at or above the standard. So out of our 191 5th graders, for example, 49 of them got a 3 or a 4 on the exam. When we break it down further, I'm looking at genders of males versus females, ethnicity, looking at our major breakdown of white, Hispanic. I put other, which categorized anything else that we report. Students with disabilities were current IEPs or 504s at the time of testing, as well as our current L students at the time of testing, and students that were distinguished as economically disadvantaged. So we do see that we still have areas of improvement needed with our subgroup data, especially with our students with disabilities and our L and economically disadvantaged populations. But if you remember back to October, that stands 100% with our trends across the district for all of our test data. Being that this is baseline data, what I think that we need to realize is that this is our starting point and we have to figure out where we're going to move forward from this. I think when we start looking at the data, when we get back into the realm of things with the teachers, we are able to break it down further and align it to the standards. Once we could dig deeper into our data and relate it to domains and practices, which are the subcategories, we'll be able to then turn around and look at our curricula to see, are we in the right direction? Are what we teaching what we should be teaching with that? Once we have that information, then I can start looking with the teachers of how our curriculum needs to be adjusted. We could look at our particular standards that we are meeting or not meeting, and we can look at where our teachers, their input as where the students are kind of moving within. Finally, what I think one of the things that we're priding ourselves on is the idea that we need to continue our professional development in this total shift of how we teach science. Being a former science teacher, when I started and looking at those standards to the standards that we now have and are being tested on, it is a total mind shift. So teachers need to be trained on this and they need to be centered around what the core elements are. So our goals going into next year is just a lot of focused professional development for all of our K-12 teachers around how this new science of doing and skill-based rather than rote memorization of science fact is. That is all I have to share with everybody tonight. I know that we will be posting this on the district website as we always do. So anybody who has questions moving forward is more than welcome to reach out. And I don't know if anybody has any questions now with that small amount of data we have. We're good, I think.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Trebona. I appreciate it. As Dr. Trebona said, we'll have that up on our website probably by tomorrow. That'll be available on our website for anyone who wants to take a look at it. So with that said, I'm going to jump right into my report. And as you can, I'm sure, imagine, my report is a little bit longer tonight. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I have a lot to share in regard to things that are happening in the district and, of course, at the state level as well. So again, just bear with me if you would. I want to start just by saying some thank yous. I have to thank, our teachers and our administrators for all of their efforts in developing these remote learning plans. I mean, obviously, this is not something that any of us were prepared for, and it came very quickly. We had about 5 days to prepare for this, but I think our teachers and our administrators have done an outstanding job of organizing the material for students and making sure that the items that we needed to be available were. Obviously, it's a learning process for all of us as we go through this. We're kind of learning as we go, and we'll continue to tweak the plans that we've developed. And I think we've done that already. We started already to make some minor adjustments, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward. I also want to thank all of our parents for their support in this process. And I appreciate, we had over 700 parents participate in our survey that we sent out. I anticipate us having another survey in the coming weeks, but we had, like I said, about 730 parents participate in that survey. So it provided some really good insight for us. And again, it helps us as we develop our plans moving forward. So thank you. I want to thank our students for their efforts. I know they've been working hard. And again, this is a new model for them as well. It's tough. I can tell you, as someone who's in grad school and doing a lot of work on my own at home, it's sometimes hard to get motivated to do that kind of work at home. So I appreciate the time that the kids are putting in and the hard work that they're putting into completing their assignments and attending their virtual meetings, and again, all of their efforts. We'll continue, as I said, to evaluate all of our plans as we move forward. And obviously, I'll talk a little bit about the governor's most recent announcement and how it relates to moving forward. But we'll continue to monitor that and continue to take your feedback and try to do what we can for our students and of course, for our parents as well. So let me jump right into, obviously this is our 4th week with our spring break sandwiched in between. We did start our 4th marking period on Monday of this week. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but I'm sure that many of you heard, and if you didn't hear, the governor announced today that schools will officially be closed until, the wording he used was at least May 15th. That was the announcement that he made today in regard to, schools reopening. So obviously our teachers have been working on plans. We've talked to them about being prepared for this. So they're finalizing those plans. And obviously, as we have in the past, we'll make sure those plans are available on our webpage as we have with our other plans. And of course, teachers will continue to share things through Google Classroom. And I'm going to get a little bit more into some of the changes as we move forward in a few moments. In regard to our 3rd marking period, obviously the 3rd marking period ended on April 3rd. And I just want to make it clear the way that we are handling grades for the 3rd marking period. So what we determined is that most of the marking period, about 70% of the marking period, actually 32 of 47 days, were completed in school. So based on that, our feeling was that we would base the grades on anything completed up to and including March 13th, which was the last day of in-school instruction. Anything that was completed beyond March 13th or starting on March 16th would be counted, but would not count against students, because we are aware that some of our students didn't have devices that first week or, had some challenges in terms of connecting. So, obviously we're going to count that work, but it will only enhance grades for students. It will not negatively impact any student's grade after March 13th. But again, the grades will be based on where those students were, including any additional work beyond March 13th. Okay, and that will be communicated. Our report cards will be available tomorrow afternoon on our parent portal, as they always are. And our principals will be communicating that with the parents as we move forward. Actually, either tonight and tomorrow, they'll be communicating the fact that the report cards will be available. And again, just a little quick reminder about how those grades were determined. Some of the changes as we move forward into the fourth marking period. One of the changes that we've instructed our teachers is that starting next week, that all teachers will be required to meet with their students virtually at least once during the week. So I know some of the teachers have been doing a lot of virtual learning, a lot of online communicating, and some not so much. And again, of course, some are more comfortable than others with the format. But as of next week, we have told our teachers that all teachers are required to touch base with their students virtually at least once during the week. And that includes all grades. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of that remote learning or should I say virtual online learning through Zoom or other programs, Google Meets. So that is one thing. The other thing that we're starting in the fourth marking period, which begins tomorrow, on each Friday, we'll be implementing an independent learning day for all students. And basically, this will be an opportunity for students to make up work, to get caught up if there's things that they missed or there were things that they had were struggling with. They can touch base with teachers. Teachers will be reaching out to students and families of students who maybe didn't complete certain things, but no new instruction will take place on Fridays starting tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the first independent learning day. And we just felt, that I know that in that survey that we sent out, that one of the things we got back from parents or the feedback that we got was that some of the students were feeling overwhelmed. I know obviously it was relatively new at that point. So we want to make sure that we give students an opportunity to touch base, catch up, make sure they're not falling behind. So our goal was to try this independent learning day and see how it goes. And once again, we'll evaluate it as we move forward and tweak it as necessary. All right, and again, that starts tomorrow. All right, a few other updates I want to share. I know that I've shared through our social media platforms as well as on our district website the information about the new AP testing. College Board has provided some updates in regard to AP exams this year for our students at Hawthorne High School. And I know that in Mr. Cunningham's weekly report last week, he included a letter from Ms. Weger, which basically provided an update in regard to exam dates, the exam formats. They even talk about if you're having trouble with a device or you need some help with connectivity or a device, they will assist you. Ms. Weger put together a very thorough letter that is, again, available on our website, and it was available through the announcement that Mr. Cunningham made last Sunday. I also, as I said, I posted the College Board website on our Facebook page and Twitter pages so that parents can access it that way as well. But there are some updates in regard to that. Obviously, they will be handled remotely this year, but yeah, I would encourage you to take a look at that information if your child will be participating in AP exams. Dr. Trebona and Ms. Weger will be participating, along with myself, will be participating in a webinar tomorrow with College Board, and any additional information that we receive, obviously, we will share with our parents. Another update I'd like to provide is in regard to our trips that were canceled this year. As you know, we had trips to Italy, Spain, and Nashville that were scheduled for our students this year, and unfortunately, they were unable to attend. So the good news is that the Spain students have all received their future travel voucher. Unfortunately, EF Tours would not provide a financial refund. I shouldn't say they wouldn't, but unfortunately, if you took a financial refund, you took a significant financial hit. It was about a $1,000 loss if you wanted the funds back. So they did provide a full travel voucher to all students. Obviously, our hope is that our underclassmen will be able to participate in a trip next year. And our seniors, they do have the option to participate on any tour that EF Tours participates in up through September of 2021. So they would have a little bit of time to use that travel voucher. I know some of the parents have asked if we could help them maybe sell it to an underclassman because it would be the same monetary value. So that we told them that we would absolutely do that when we held our meetings with those parents. So that's where we are with the Spain trip. The Italy trip, Mrs. Fasaro is working with the tour company, which is a different tour company than Spain. The good news is Italy will be getting full refunds except for $140 of insurance. That is non-refundable. No one has received that refund yet, but she is working with the travel company to get that resolved. In terms of the Nashville trip, the band trip to Nashville, Mr. Williams really did a nice job working with that tour company. And the way that worked out is all of our seniors will be getting a full refund, and our underclassmen will get a partial refund and a partial voucher to be used going forward. Hopefully, again, they'll have an opportunity for a trip next year and they can use that voucher next year. All right. And that money, again, has not been refunded yet, but Mr. Williams is doing a really nice job of working with that company. Okay. Let's talk for a moment about virtual events. So as I shared on Facebook about a week ago, that, as a district, we're aware that our students are missing out on some of the things that would normally be happening at this time of the year. We are working very hard and holding a lot of meetings to try to plan and present some of these events virtually. I can tell you that we already have 2 scheduled, and I'll get into those in a second. But I'm very happy to say that we are trying our best to run as many of these events as we possibly can for our students. To be perfectly honest, there are some that we just will not be able to do if we don't return to school. But we're doing our best to try to run as many as possible. I can share with you that the Italian Honor Society induction will take place on Monday, April 20th at 7 p.m. We held a rehearsal this afternoon. It went very well. So we're excited about that. That will definitely be taking place on Monday. And again, that will be communicated through the high school principal, Mr. Cunningham. The National Honor Society induction will be taking place on Thursday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. All right, so we're excited about that as well. The Spanish Honor Society induction is still in the works. We are working on a date for that event, but that will be happening virtually. The other thing we are working on right now is Scholarship Night, which is scheduled for April 29th. We are anticipating that that will happen, but we're working on finalizing details for that event. And we'll communicate all of these events, obviously, as we get closer to them, but we just want to share where we are. The other thing we've been talking about is our school play. And Ava and I had a conversation recently. She is the lead in the school play. Unfortunately, that play was supposed to take place next week. So we are looking into alternatives. The one challenge we're facing with the play is that there are certain things when you buy the rights to the play that you can and can't do. So we're working with that. I have a call scheduled for tomorrow with Ms. Ronay, who is the advisor of the play. We're going to be speaking tomorrow to try to talk out some options going forward. The other group that I met with was our senior class advisors. I had a meeting yesterday with our senior class advisors, as well as Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Mazzacca, Mr. Jandoli, and just to talk about some of our senior events at the end of the year. Obviously, we're looking into options. Unfortunately, I can't give more details right now because we just don't know what we will be allowed to do and what we won't be allowed to do. So we talked about a few different options. We're going to be investigating a few different options. Obviously people are sharing ideas with me and that's fine. But we will, it is on our radar. We are, talking about it and beginning to have conversation about how we can move forward with those events. We do feel it's important to have those events in some form, but we'll just have to wait and see what the options are as we get closer to those events. But we'll, again, keep everyone updated. Obviously, once we know more about what the governor's plans are beyond May 15th, we'll be able to modify our plans and then, of course, communicate that out to those in our community. A couple of other items, and I promise I'm done. Our budget hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, April 29th, which will be held virtually, the same format as this meeting. Couple pieces of good news that I'd like to share. Some good news in that if we do return to school, the primary elections have been moved from June 2nd to July 7th, so that will not impact our school day if we are back in school. Also, something that the board and I will discuss is in regard to the 3 snow days we have left. Typically, those days would be returned around Memorial Day. That is an option, and that actually is part of what's in our teacher's contract, our HTA agreement. But, I think a conversation could happen is if we were not returning to school for the rest of the year, we could have a discussion about the possibility of maybe taking them off the end of the year as well. shorten the year and get out a little sooner. So a couple of options for us. Obviously, I'd have to discuss that with the HTA leadership because it is part of our agreement with the HTA. But again, it's a conversation that we're having, and we just, it is something that we have we have those 3 snow days available to us. And whether we use them as a break at the end of May for parents and students and teachers, or we take them off the end of the year is something we will discuss. And finally, again, I just want to thank everyone for their cooperation. This has obviously been a challenging time for all of us. I could tell you as a superintendent and as a parent, it is a challenge, and I understand that. We appreciate that. We'll continue to work with our parents. We encourage our parents to reach out to us with questions or concerns. That we need to know if there are things going on that you're struggling with so that we can make adjustments. If we don't know those things, we won't be able to make those adjustments. So continue to communicate with your building administration, with your child's teacher, and we'll continue to work with you to make this experience the best one that we can for our students. And again, in regard to end of the year events, I know we're going to have to make some really tough decisions in the next month or so. And obviously, depending on if we're back or not, we'll have to make some tougher decisions. But we're going to do everything we can to make these events special for our kids. All right. And the last thing I just want to remind everyone, please continue to visit our website. There's a lot of information on our website. I continue to update that information. You should look for a letter from my office within the next few days. We'll be updating you on some special things going on. And of course, you should visit our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and our Instagram page, because I've been putting a lot more information on those pages as well, just to keep people updated. All right. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Spirito, thank you very much. As always, board members, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Spirito? All right, I don't see any hands. I just want to take a couple minutes, Mr. Spirito. I want to extend a little extra acknowledgement towards you and your entire staff at these tough times right now. It's it's very heartwarming, and it's reassuring to know that we have someone with your professionalism and your dedication at the head of the ship right now. I don't think any of my board members disagree. I think they all echo the same sentiments. These are tough times. A lot has been asked of our district employees, our administrators, our teachers, our maintenance staff, our bus drivers, our custodians, and for that matter, our parents and teachers. Everyone's pulling together, and we're making the best of a horrible situation. And I know we're going to continue to do that, and hopefully this is all over sooner than later. But I just wanted to give you that little extra vote of encouragement there to you and your entire team.
Thank you.
That being said, we are going to move on to curriculum and instruction. Abby, if you take it away, please.
Thank you, Mike. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions, CI1 and CI2 on page 3. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Doyle, I just want to comment that obviously Ms. Goff did not move CI3, and that was done intentionally. We're going to move that item. It's really an administration item. We're going to move it to A22, which will be moved later on the agenda.
All right, duly noted. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford, Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, moving on, personnel. Right back to you again, Abby.
The following resolutions are recommendations of the Superintendent of Schools, P4 through P9 on page 4. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
We have a second. Mr. Clavijo. Any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. Moving on, Finance and Administration. Alex, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions. On page 4, F10 to A13. On page 5, A14. Continuing on to page 6. And as Mr. Spirito referenced, CI3 is now A22 on page 3. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? All right, no discussion. Roll call, please.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. Abby, we are back to you again for claims, please.
In accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11 C3 and C4, it is recommended that the board approve the bill list for the month of April 2020. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second, please.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
With reservation on any PCTI or Northern Regional Ed Service Commission bills. Yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, moving right along. Anthony, let's talk about buildings and grounds.
Ant, you're muted, Ant.
Thank you.
No
All
problem.
right.
Let's try that again. Pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Buildings and Grounds recommends the following resolutions. On top of page 7, BG 16 through BG 18. On top of page 8, BG 19. And that's all, sorry.
The addendum,
I'm sorry, I is why,
Addendum, the BG 21 on the addendum.
yes, I got it. Thank you. On top of page 11, BG 21. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
All right, I need a second, please.
Second.
thank
All
you.
right, second. Any discussion?
Right here.
Okay, Alex, go ahead.
Just thrilled to see that, given the challenges we're working with, that the referendum projects are moving forward. Thank you to everybody that's making that a reality again with the current challenges. So,
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
With reservation on BG 16. Yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo,
yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, Abby, we're coming back to you for policy.
Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Policy recommends the following resolutions. PO 20 on page 8, carried on to page 9. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
I just want to share with the committee, with the rest of the board, a few notes on each of these as it's the first reading for them. For policy 1581, domestic violence, the revision is to incorporate the provisions of the uniform domestic violence policy. For policy 2422, health and physical education, it is revised to include 3 new statutes: financial literacy instruction, history of disabilities, and LGBT persons included in middle and high school curriculum, and policies, procedures pertaining to the inclusive instruction of such. Policy 5330, administration of medication. This addresses the administration of hydrocortisone sodium succinate in a similar manner that the administration of epinephrine is required. So schools would be required to have a nurse or other properly trained staff member to be available at all school-sponsored functions. It also advises districts to train staff and administration as it has done with epinephrine. Policy 7243, supervision of construction. There is now a criminal history record check required for construction contractors who are coming into regular contact with students, and a liaison is recommended to be in contact and oversee the gathering of information of such. Policy 8220, school day. The Board of Ed will now be required to approve not only school calendar days, but also times that schools are in session, including shortened days. And policy 8462, reporting potentially missing or abused children. Chapter 178 was approved in 2019, requiring the Board of Ed to display info in each school about the Department of Children and Family State Central Registry, which includes the toll-free number for reporting child abuse. The new law requires the info should be in a format that is clear and simple to understand, on a poster that is posted in at least one high-traffic area, visible and accessible and widely used by students. That is all.
All right, thank you, Abby. Any other comments? All right, roll call.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turca,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher, Mr. Reicher,
I'm sorry, yes.
Ms. Sanford, Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
and Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right. We're going to move on to our committee and liaison reports. As a reminder to our board members and for those at home that are listening, we did not meet, committees did not meet this month. However, we will run through them if any of the chairs have anything they would still like to report. Alex, we'll start with you with finance and administration if you have anything. Nothing else?
Sure. The only thing I have on finance and administration is that like Mr. Spirito mentioned, we're going to have our budget meeting presentation on April 29th. The information for the meeting will be shared, like the information for this meeting was shared. So that's going to be April 29th, virtual budget meeting presentation. That's it.
Okay. Nothing on school boards?
Mike?
No.
Yes, go ahead, Lou.
Under finance, Alex, if you don't mind,
Go for it.
Rick or Trudy, You got any comments or feelings as far as A 3902, the bill that's passed through the Assembly and has still got to go to the Senate? You hearing anything about that? For those that aren't aware, there's a bill that's passed through the Assembly that could limit, if not defer, municipal payments to school districts, which is, if they do defer them, they're going to permit us to use our reserves until we catch up. So I was just wondering if you all, either of you, have any comment on it or heard anything about it? Or...
We actually have our county meeting on Monday, so I may hear something there, but I haven't had any other than just a broadcast about it or information about it. I haven't gotten any other information.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing I'd like to say, the presentation is April 28th, Tuesday night, April 28th.
Thank you, Trudy. All right, moving on, referendum. Very short report for the referendum. So as it was referenced earlier on by Alex, fortunately for us, under the state of emergency that the governor has put in place, referendum construction projects are still permitted to move forward. So that's good news for us. Let's just keep everything moving forward. Mr. Spirito and the administration have been working, and we've had several jobs or projects that have gone out to bid. Some of the projects that we're looking to get moving on are at the high school, our STEM and physics room. Over at Lincoln Middle School, it's the Science and Media Center. We're looking at the boilers at LMS and Roosevelt. And most recently, we just got another bid on the roof work that needs to be done at Roosevelt and Jefferson. As to be expected, the bids are coming in. Some are coming in under what we budgeted for. Some are coming in a little over what we budgeted for. We certainly, anticipated this. At the end of the day, our expectations are all said and done at the end of this referendum. Hopefully, things equal out. Or better yet, everything comes in a little bit under budget, and maybe we'll have a little extra money to maybe do something else. But we're moving full steam ahead with our referendum. And that's all I have to present on that. Abby, anything on curriculum instruction or policy? Anything additional?
Curriculum instruction will be meeting next week, virtually, of course, to discuss moving forward, grading, things we would like to, sort of firm up. I would like to say thank you to everyone, as Mr. Spirito said, for your continued support and patience. We're all in this together. Dr. Trebona, congratulations on your huge accomplishment. Thank you for everything you do for the district. And I would like to just say one other thing. As I have said before, of the 8 of us currently on the board, 7 of us have children in the district. So decisions that are made, we think about all of our children and your children as well. But we will be meeting Tuesday, the Curriculum Instruction Committee, to have a further discussion. So I'll have more updates for you next month. And nothing on policy.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Anthony, anything you want to report on your HEF, CPAC, PTOs, or anything buildings and grounds related? Take your mute off, Andy.
I will figure this out by the end of the meeting tonight.
No worries.
Just real quick with CPAC and HEF, based on the fact that the Passaic County Department has canceled all May events, the color run will be canceled, and the food truck for HEF will also be canceled. And that was their biggest fundraiser plan for this year. So unfortunately, we think that the teacher grants will have to be postponed also till next year. It's unfortunately, going to happen this year, but that's where we stand. I just want to say we did not meet with the Buildings and Grounds, but just, on behalf of the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I just want to kind of, give kudos to the custodians and the maintenance staff for everything they did immediately after the original quarantine. They stayed in the schools, they cleaned everything. disinfected, get everything ready to go so that if we are fortunate enough to get back into schools, we'll be all ready to go with a nice, clean environment. I also want to thank Scotty Verone, who's, always helps out. He was helping out, handing out some Chromebooks. And of course, Jimmy Bertolo, besides his normal duties, he just jumps in and does everything that, he could possibly do. Helped out with Chromebooks, helped out handing out lunches, I believe, when we were short staff. And of course, the leader over there, Scott Chamberlain. Scott's always does a great job, runs around, make sure his team is doing what they need to do. And our facilities are, the best that they can be. So just wanted to thank them for all their hard work, and hopefully everybody stays safe. Thank you.
Couldn't be said any better there, Ant. Thank you very much. Tanya, we'll move on to you. Anything you want to report legislative-wise?
There are a couple of things worth mentioning. So COVID-19 Fiscal Mitigation Act, which is A398, was passed on April 13th by both houses of the legislature. This extends the end of the current fiscal year from June 30th to September 30th. It also delays state tax filing deadlines by 3 months from April 15th to July 15th. The bill also calls on the state treasurer to report on the financial condition of the state by May 22nd. At this point, it's not clear how these changes will impact state aid to local districts. The May 22nd treasurer's report should provide a better picture of how realistic it is for districts to expect the state aid they were told to build into their fiscal year 2021 budgets. So that's just something to keep in mind. Lou mentioned A3902, which is the delay of payments to districts. Oh, I'm sorry. The A3902 was not voted on. No Senate action was taken on it. That's the delay of payments to districts. So at that point, this one was previously passed by Assembly. It needs Senate approval before it can go to the governor for final consideration. So that one is kind of on hold. Virtual or remote instruction, A3904, permits the use of virtual remote instruction to meet the minimum 180-day school year requirement, which we are all painfully aware of, but that was passed officially on April 14th. And the family leave expansion, which is S2374 or A3913. It concerns family leave benefits during epidemic-related emergencies. So on April 14th, Governor Murphy signed the bill, which will be retroactive to March 25th. It will expand the state's Family Leave Act, the FLA, to allow workers to take time off to care for an ill family member during the coronavirus crisis. The bill will also include school closings as an acceptable use of family leave. And that is all I have for legislature. And besides, Rick did mention that today the governor did say that schools will be out till at least May 15th. That's the latest that we've all heard. So that's all I have for legislature.
Okay, thank you very much, Tanya. Marco, anything you'd want to report council-wise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Unfortunately, I do not have anything to report because the council meeting was canceled last night.
Okay, very good. Lou, anything you want to report on Passaic County School Boards?
Everything's canceled.
Seems to be the common theme.
Nothing for the rest of the year. I believe they are looking for nominations for a secretary or a vice president. So if you want to go on to NJSBA Passaic County and submit your name, be my guest. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Lou. We're going to move on to public be heard, but before we do that, I'm just as a reminder, please, if you're going to submit questions via Zoom, or your questions must be submitted through via Zoom or email, please be sure to include your first and last name, your address, and your email address followed by your question. All right, thank you very much. We'll do our best. We're going to answer these questions in the order in which they were received.
All
right.
Doyle, I can, if you want, I can have them up here, and if you want me to just begin, or how do you want?
I'll read out the first question, and I believe you'll be able to answer it. You can jump right in. So our first question here is by Dr. Alma Morel. Is there any discussion regarding reviewing school schedules and looking at lab time? Mr. Burrito?
So what I'm gonna do is actually the first two questions by Dr. Morell are specific to science. So I'm gonna ask Dr. Trebona, our resident science teacher, to address those, if that's okay.
Sure, no problem. So in regards to the first question, I will say that that is in our future plans. We piloted it this current school year, 1920, with some of our AP courses. What we're running into is staffing. So as we look forward and look at our numbers, we are looking to bring that into a rotating lab schedule with the rotating drop. I've seen it done a couple of ways where it's paired up against lunch periods, where there's a 20-minute part of lunch and that is devoted to lab and 20 minutes then is devoted to eating. I've also seen it with the rotate drop schedule where it's paired up against PE, and that's what we piloted it with. So yes, that is in the discussions. It will only be seen in the upper level APs again for the 2021 school year, but it is something we are moving towards down the road. Do you want to just jump in?
Well, let me just, and I apologize, we should have read the question so everybody knew what the question was. The first question was any discussion regarding reviewing school schedules and looking at lab time. So that was what Dr. Trebona just discussed. The second question is, has there been discussion regarding reviewing teacher unit assessments or looking to develop common assessments to ensure alignment to NJSLS science and rigor and type of question? So that was again by Dr. Morell.
Yes, so that started mid-year this year. Once we were up and running and teachers were kind of going with some of the other initiatives we had, what we started doing was taking the released items for the NJSLS science, trying to have them use them within their classroom instruction. We also, one of the major shifts we did, which was new this year, was the idea of not all of our students had taken physics in Hawthorne. A lot of the third year science students went into environmental, which then they were missing a large portion of the mandated standards. So we implemented physics for juniors at all levels. So every student will have that. With that being said, what we did was we went back into our curricula and looked at to make sure that we were hitting all the standards that were there. Our next point with that is to develop certain what we're going to call similar to the FRQs or FRAs, which are free response questions or free response assignments that mimic the questions that are asked on the assessment, and they will be incorporated into the daily instruction at all grade levels beginning in third grade in science. So as this is a slower process for us, we are beginning to move and shift our kind of focus on how we're looking at science across the grade level. Our biggest struggle right now, I would say, would be in our elementary levels. And we're really working at showing our teachers they don't need to be content specialists to master this. There's been a lot of teachers who've taken the lead down there and tried to help with that. So that's where we are with that.
Thank you, Dr. Trebona.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Spirito, you're probably going to be best suited to answer most of these questions. If you want to just go ahead and read the next one and/or Dr. Trebona, and I'll jump in as necessary.
Very good. All right. So the next question was also by Dr. Morell. Will there be a district grading policy, or will that be left to the individual teachers? For example, Verona District decided to do pass-fail, not advocating anything specific. Just wondering if there's a district-wide grading practice or policy for the fourth marking period, or left up to the individual teachers. So as was shared in my report, and Ms. Goff mentioned our meeting on Tuesday, that is a discussion that we've been having administratively. We had it this past week. We had an administrative meeting, which we've been meeting weekly to talk about a lot of these things. So we had a discussion about it this week. Dr. Trebona shared some samples of things that are happening in other districts with our administrators. And we will be meeting again on Monday, our administrative team, to finalize our plan, and then sharing it with our Curriculum Instruction Committee on Tuesday, which is the purpose of that meeting, and then communicating it out to our parents and of course, finalizing things with our teachers. So we have a plan for that. We're finalizing that plan. We'll be communicating with the board and then communicating with the public. All right. Next question is by Anita Lung. She says, my son, as well as many other of his friends with the same classes, complete the assigned classwork homework in less than 2 hours each day. What should he be doing on Fridays if there is to be no new work? Dr. Treboni, you want to take that one, please?
I will. My guess is that this is more geared toward the middle and elementary levels. With that being said, there's a couple of things that we have new with this independent learning days. First thing and foremost, we are rolling out some mindfulness videos and activities for the students to complete. There's a grade 1 through 5 and 4 through 6. No, 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 version. They're 30-minute videos and interactive activities done by Pandora Healing in Hawthorne. Mr. Jason Wood has put them together for us, and he will guide students through some meditation and mindfulness activities. Additionally, a lot of the programming at the middle school and the elementary school lends itself to just reading and math fluency help. And that is what we encourage students to work on, similar to what we encourage over a summer assignment. If they do have downtime, picking up and doing reading for enjoyment is always going to keep them from regressing or going backwards. Finally, what I am putting together with my elementary administrative team is some what we call leisure activities. And there are different types of websites and stuff students can do to keep themselves cognitively engaged, but in what we call leisure activities. So there's sites where they could be doing jigsaw puzzles. There are sites where they could be doing brain breaks and brain activities, and they're developed by grade level. And that should be going out with our week 5 and 6 lesson planning next week, I guess Monday.
Yeah. The other thing, if I could just piggyback on that, is that, you know, when during the spring recess, we sent out a website with a host of different activities, you know, virtual field trips, all kinds of fun activities that kids can always engage in, even if it's not during spring recess. There were a lot of different things on that website, and we can resend that as well for anyone who's looking for other activities that kids can engage in. So, you know, I'll make a note that maybe we want to reshare that webpage with parents. So,
Mr. Spirito, we can put that all together on what I am. It's going to be a separate site that can go on our main website page that will have leisure and supplemental activities.
Perfect.
I was just going to ask if we could get that spring break link on the preparedness plan page for tomorrow.
Yeah, no problem. We will take care of that. Okay, the next question, I don't know who asked this question, unfortunately, but I did answer it already. I'll readdress it. Are there plans to include more virtual instruction with the students? So as I mentioned, one of the things that we've told our teachers going forward is they are required to meet with their students at least once a week. Obviously, we're going to continue to encourage them to do even more. But yes, we are asking our teachers to touch base. We think it's important that they get a chance to see their students and the students get a chance to see their teachers. So we absolutely are moving forward. And I did share that in my weekly report.
Maybe we could all say hi to Ben. Ben says hi, whoever Ben is. Hi, Ben.
I'm not taking credit. I'm not sure that one's mine.
Okay, and then the last question was by Chris Melbourne. Are there plans to include more virtual instruction? I just is that with the students? So yes, once again, yes, we are moving in that direction. So.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Spirito and Dr. Trebona. Mr. Spirito, do you have any other email questions?
No, sir. There are no questions in the email account. Oh.
We're good.
There actually another question just came in from our
I see it. Go ahead.
Ezekiel Soma in Hawthorne, obviously. He says, will there be consistency regarding the amount of time that teachers provide in allowing students to complete their assignments, or will each teacher be able to allot whatever amount of time they feel? I think, to answer that question, I would say that just as they do in school, right, teachers will determine what they feel is an appropriate amount of time to complete assignments based on the assignment. Obviously, depending on the length of the assignment, whether it's a project, whether it's a shorter assignment, the teachers will determine what they feel is an appropriate amount of time for students to complete that, and that'll be left up to the teachers in each subject in each class. All right. You're welcome, Ezekiel. And thank you, Dr. Vanderhook.
Okay. All right. So once again, we have no more other email questions, right? Oh, another question popping.
Oh, no, you're very welcome, it says. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. We're going to conclude our public be heard portion. Thank you for everyone who participated at home. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to move some of these pieces around. We're going to start with all new business members. We're going to start with Mr. Palouse, if you have any new business.
I'm good tonight. Thanks.
Tanya?
No new business. I just wanted to, thank everybody as you and Mr.
General comments and concerns.
All right,
General
then
comments
no
and
new
concerns.
business. No new business.
Lou, you have any new business?
I'm good, thank you.
Alex, any new business?
No, I do not.
How about you, Bruce?
Sure. I do have one thing. I think it may be new business. It's regarding tomorrow that we were just talking about with what curriculum could be done if your child doesn't have any work to do. Would that fit in here?
Sure.
Does that fit in this spot or no?
Yeah, sure, by all means.
Okay. I'm just going to add if someone else send the link to Mrs. Rita and to Dr. Tribona. Jennifer Costata is a media specialist, actually in Canada, and every single day she publishes a daily list of events for parents for their children. So like for today, she had go visit the zoo, go draw with an author, listen to stories from an author. Some of them are fitness things, videos that do with their parents. So I'll share that with them. So if students are done with all their work, she actually gives specific times during the day that authors are reading, or you draw with the author, and all those programs are excellent. Was it? I'm good.
You're still muted, Mike.
All right, I'm back. All right, thanks, Bruce. Anything else? How about you, Marco? Anything under new business?
No, I'm good.
Abby, anything for you under new business?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right, right back
I'm
to
good.
old business.
I would like to remind everyone in the public, well, I would like to ask Mr. Sprito first. We're still giving out Chromebooks if people need them.
So we are still giving out Chromebooks. We had someone there today. Jim Bertolo's been manning that station for us. So he's there Mondays, 8:30 to 12:30. He's there on Thursdays from 10 to 12:30, I believe is the time. So yes, we're Mondays and Thursdays with lunches.
Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. If I could just
I
comment.
just wanted to remind everybody that that would still happen.
Lunches are still available if parents, I know some parents have been coming. We actually gave out 502 meals this week, but they're still available. We, just so everyone knows, we communicated with those families who it was available to, and we can send out a reminder just to remind them, but we have communicated directly with those families through our parent notification system. And it is still available on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 to 12:30, or I think it's 10:30 to 12, actually, I apologize. But yes, so we're still doing both, Mondays and Thursdays.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Abby. Marco, anything under old business?
Nope, good.
Bruce?
No, I'm good.
Alex, anything under old business?
Yes, just want to remind people, encourage them to visit the website. Mr. Spirito and the administration has been doing a phenomenal job of maintaining that updated with relevant information. So I just want to encourage everybody to keep checking that website.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Lou, anything under old business?
I'm good. Thank you, Michael.
Tanya, any old business?
No, I'm good, thanks.
And Anthony, any old business?
I am also good for tonight. Thank you.
All right, well, you're not off the hook yet. We're coming right back to you. You got any general comments or questions from the board related to school business?
No, I'm going to defer to Tanya because I know she's going to say anything that we're all thinking. So if you don't mind, pass it along.
All right, you're up, Tanya.
So on behalf of Anthony and myself and whoever else, I'm sure everybody on the board, I just wanted to reiterate a thank you again to all the teachers and administration and all the faculty and staff that have anything to do with everything that we're doing for the kids. The parents, I know it's a burden on everybody. It's a little hard. You kind of didn't sign up to be a teacher as well, but you're doing a great job and we really appreciate you. And just wanted to say thanks.
All right, well said. Thank you, Tanya. Lou, anything, any general comments?
I'm good, Michael. Thank you.
All right, how about you, Alex?
Yeah, just echoing everybody's sentiment, right? If it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to survive and thrive in a pandemic. Just proud to be part of the community and including parents and, teachers and just everybody that makes up the community. So thank you to all.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Bruce, anything under general comments?
Yeah, just thank you to all the schools for the videos and the high school TV show. They're all excellent if you check them out from the individual schools. All the teachers that put them together are entertaining and touching. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. How about you, Marco? Anything you want to pass on?
Sure. Just continuing along with the theme, just thank you to everybody. I also want to just thank the students, right? I mean, this is a completely different environment for the students, and to be able to adapt to everything that's been thrown out there, I think has just been amazing. But that's also because of the administration and the teachers that have made this happen so seamlessly. I don't necessarily know if everybody truly knows how hard that work had to happen to turn this over in that 5-day period, right? It's actually just overwhelming to even think about it, and it's just amazing to see how it's come together. And as a parent, I couldn't be more proud of our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. And Abby, anything, any other comments you'd like to make?
I would like to take a moment to thank everyone, just as my fellow board members have, and I would specifically like to give a special shout out to the teachers who are teaching while also trying to homeschool their own children, which is a plight that I am going through now myself. It is particularly difficult. So we cannot thank you enough for all that you do. A further testament is, see this, but in our Q&A, we had young Ben ask, when will we return to school? He said, because I miss it. So the impact you have on them, even from home, is tremendous. And I personally thank you as a parent, as a fellow educator, as a board, fighting the good fight. We're all in this together. Stay well.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Mr. Sprito, any final comments you'd like to make?
I think I said enough tonight, but I appreciate the support of the board. And again, I just want to thank, our parents and our students. I appreciate it. And listen, as I've said, if you have questions, concerns, reach out to us. We're here. We're happy to listen and help in any way that we can. Obviously, there's limitations on things that we can do, but we will help in any way that we can to make this as seamless as possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sprito. Thank you to all the board members. I could say ditto to everything my colleagues have said tonight, everything to what Mr. Sprito said. I will belabor the point one more time, what Mr. Sprito just said. Anyone in the community, if you do have a question, if you do have a problem, if you have a concern, reach out. We have various ways for you to reach out, whether it's email, phone, social media. Don't hesitate to get in touch with someone, and we'll do our best to answer your question and help. All right. Before I entertain a motion to go into private, no more questions. All right, if any other questions do come in after the fact, we will make an attempt to answer those messages, through email if we can. All right. That being said, motion to go into private.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, guys, just remember you're going to be sent a second invitation from Mr. Sprito. You don't have to sign out of this one.
Yes.
You will have to check your email and sign into the second invitation to join the private session. When we're done with private, we will come back into the public session.
All
right, roll call, please.
Okay, Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. All right, buddy. I'll see everybody in private.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Ava, I'll
Stay
talk to you
safe.
soon.
Talk to you guys
Thank you,
soon. Bye.
Dr. Tamer, we'll see you soon.
Hey, Eva.
I think everyone is back, right?
Everybody back. Tamer, before we end, I just want to thank you very much. All right, you did a great job. Thanks for facilitating this and being our monitor.
No worries at all. It was my pleasure.
All right, we're good. We can entertain a motion to terminate the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Everybody be safe and well. Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thanks again, everybody. Thank you, Trudy.
Have a good
Good
night,
night,
everyone.
Good night.
Be safe.